This is the unit from the Futurama, and I'm just going to test the pickups roughly. This is on, so I'm going to roughly test the pickups to see what I can, if they're working or not. So we've got some noise from the front one. Now I'm going to take that switch apart. So let's just switch it off till I turn it round. We're going to loosen this, although it's very well soldered at the back, doesn't give much room to take it off. Does it? So the whole lot's going to have to come off. Let me just see. And it's not a nut, it's just a, it doesn't even have a serrated edge on it, it's just a washer that screws on. Let's see, there's no grip. Okay, and we'll do this one. The whole switch is moving, so let's just do one switch at a time. Alright, it came off. Is there a thread in it? There is a thread in it. So I had turned it enough to take the thread off. So let me see about holding this and turning that. Alright, we are getting a bit of movement. I didn't want to put any lubricant on it just yet. So there we are. It's got a steel plate there. Or is that lead? Let's just see. Feels very flexible. It's got an earth soldered to it, so that's why it's feeling. It's got another earth soldered there. It's got an earth soldered to it. It's got an earth soldered to it in 3 places. One there, one there, one there, and actually one there. Now why they had to do that, I don't know. That's obviously a little bit of tin. Now this is the thing we're having problem with. And I notice it's got a screw on it, which I'm going to take off. And this is not going to be easy to do, because the only way to open it up, there's no screws. The one thing I notice is that these potentiometers have got nothing on the sides, but this one has a silver, where is it? Can you see it? You can see it maybe there. Can you see it in there? Like a bolt going through it, which must allow the mechanism to stop at a certain place. So the only way to take this off is to pry it off and see what we can do. Oh, it looks like it'll pry off fairly easy. It's got little indentations there that allow it to snap on. Right, the cover. Let's just see what... It doesn't look to be broken. Yeah, if you can see in there, I don't know if you can see in there. I don't know if it's getting in focus or not. Let me bring it down here and get you focused down to it. Can you see in there? Let me just see what you see. The Bakelite edge is hitting that side, and when it goes round down, it hits that side, so that's how far of a movement you have. So you can't go any further than that. That's pretty clean, that's pretty neat. So all that does is just switch it from one side to the other. Doesn't do anything more. It's got twin on it. So that all looks pretty good, which is disappointing because I was hoping there would be something in it we could fix. So let's put the cover back on again. Get together and do it again. Right, okay, so that, that has to touch the inner, and this has to switch back and forth to the outer, and this is sitting too far down, so this needs to come up because it needs to touch both. So I'll put that on that way, right, and I'll put that, and you see it's got spring in it now, which it didn't have before, so I'll put that on. You tell me, young lady, what have you been doing whenever you were in the bathroom? Because I think I know what you were doing, and I'm going to have to do something about it. Have you no shame? Huh? Have you no shame? Do you not care about me being stunk up? Huh? Do you not? Young lady, your audience is watching you, and they don't think you do poos. They think you're perfect, which you are, of course. Yeah, middle, right, left, okay. Okay. Stick it back in there. I actually don't think I'm going to get solder to stick to this. I might just, even though it may not work, I'm going to pull these down a little bit. You guys are useless, you know. You guys are out there watching me are useless. Why didn't you tell me I didn't put the underbolt in before I put it in the middle? Eh? Why didn't you tell me? You guys are just absolutely useless. Somebody could reach across and just tap me on the shoulder and say, Austin, you're being stupid. How far do I want to go down? Right. About there. They didn't have enough down before. I don't know what kind of metal that is. It's very flexible and very... So, right, okay. And none of the wires broke during that little episode. So what I will do now is I'll put a little bit of tissue paper beneath there. Get some WD-40. The excess. I'm going to let that sit now maybe for 10 minutes, let it soak in and do whatever job it has to do. And then I'll come back and do more. It'd cost an arm and a leg and an arm to replace those pickups, or anything to do with this guitar would cost an absolute fortune to get originals. Whether you can get them or not is another thing. Right, okay. You guys sit there and I'll switch you off. Alright, later. I'm annoyed that I got a feeling that last footage was all ruined because of the fact that it's so out of focus. I'll stick it on and zoom it through. What I'm trying to do now, there you are. I broke off 2 wires when I was doing this, and I've got it all screwed back down together again, of course, but I'm just going to tin this wire and just refreshen this up a bit. This would be good lead solder, of course, because they didn't use that crappy non-lead solder in the 60s. Oh, sorry. Yes, hello ice cream man. Let me just use this here to get this down on that. The ice cream man cometh. Oh, is that not the ice cream man? Something else. I'm not getting an awful lot of work done these days because I have so much work on with my paying work that I do for the hotel group. That I don't get much free time, but I think I've just got over the hump and I should be back into doing this again, which I like doing. Now that's it all back together and all the wires. Now what I'm going to do is test this to see if we have any sounds coming from those pickups. I have given it a bit of a clean, but I'm going to give it a better clean of it later. But I'm going to test this now. So I'll get rid of all the soldering stuff, because I did a big tidy up today and I'm feeling very good with myself. I don't want to get it all dirty again against the amplifier, and see if we got any sound. Right, so the front ones, this not got anything coming from that. I wouldn't put too much into the tone control noise. That's middle, should have both, and that's back, should have that, so we don't have that. So we have to do a bit of more investigation to see what's wrong with this pickup, unfortunately. And if I'm not mistaken, let me just switch that off. Let me just look. No, it's not. This one's been glued down, but that one hasn't been glued down. And so I'll trace the wiring here. Alright, okay. What I should do is put the amplifier back on and just work backwards. So everything's going to where it should be, so I don't have to take that pickup off. To keep remembering that I'm pressing against a sort of a very old plastic. Do I have to take out, bend the other one? I wonder, it'll come out. Don't have much room to play. I don't think there's much I can do in here, but I have to look to see if there's anything obviously broken. Let's volume, turn it down a little bit. Okay. I'm going to earth there and touching directly to the pickup. Pickup's not making hardly any sound. That's back, you can't see. That's completely back. It's making some sound, but it's not making much, which means the wire's not broken to the pickup. Yeah. I'm gonna have to take this pickup apart. There's plastic beneath that. That's plastic in there. So those must be connected to a screw underneath. And I'm loath to put too much pressure on this to take it apart. Although it looks like I'm going to, because it's coming apart. Now what am I going to see when I take it apart? It's a typical winding I think I see. Let me just use a bigger screwdriver just to give it more purchase. Like those little things are going to have to be cleaned anyway. Right. There's the wire. There's the wire, and where's the wire go to? Right. The wire's going to nowhere, so where should it be going to? Well, that's great. Where should this be going to? Oh, look. It should... Is it going to one... Is that part of the coil? Or is that part of the earth? Oh, I'm not going to get stuck in there. It's all loose wound coils. I don't know. I got to take that big lump of solder off, so alright, come back later. I'm going to unsolder the pickup completely off to give me more space to work with it, because fiddling through these tiny wires is a bit of a pain. So let's see if we can get the wires that I just soldered on. See if we can get that. There's one going. But what it doesn't tell me is where these tiny wires, if they're broken anywhere inside that. So this is going to have to be rewound. I can't see any way out of that. If I take it apart, well, last desperate measure to take it completely apart, but I don't think I'd ever get it back together again. Right, you can hear a little noise in the background. It's the air fryer going. So I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning now of this pick guard. And the idea I'm going to use is just a little bit of this polishing cream. It's typical polishing cream, finishing compound. I've got the focus on manual and focus to this, so if you didn't see that, don't ask me to change the focus. Right, so how I'm going to do it is, because I think you can see it's a bit dirty around here and all over the place. So how I'm going to do it is just dip my finger out and do it like this, gently, because it won't scratch if you use your finger, and it'll take off the stuff beneath it. And you can see how that's coming along there. You can see how white that is now. White cream that is now. I've got that on because I don't want to put any pressure on the switches, so I'm not going to speak now because I'm just going to clean it. see that that's shiny now. Can you see it? It's nice and shiny. Right, okay. I think I've told you that I haven't wired that back up. I've just put it in gently, and because it was a folding, the metal was folding, I only folded the metal gently, so that'll lift out very easily without any more soldering. So when the owner wants to go and do that, he can do it quite easily just by lifting it off. Right, okay, so I'm going to now start on another part of the guitar, because there's not much I can do with that. I can actually take the screws out and polish them a little bit now that they're sitting in the thing. Okay, that's all the screws polished. Right, okay, so then I'm going to put that away now. It's all nice and clean as as clean as I'm going to get it. And I'm going to, just a bit of dust, and I'm going to start on another aspect of the guitar. Now, this is the trim arm I'm going to do a little bit of work to. Unfortunately, this is going to be one of those videos when it's not going to be the complete finished guitar. There's some things that I'm not going to do to it, which the owner says he will do to it, like replacing the knobs and fixing the pickup. I'd like to get it finished myself, but that's just not the way it is. Now, I'm not going to use sandpaper on this because I just want to take off the dust. I don't want to get dust. I shouldn't say dust. I want to get it as clean as possible without taking off any of the metal at all, should I say. The springs are not rusting because they're strengthened steel. So that crusty will do the job. And I'll let that sit. Now, not what I call a masterpiece, but cleaner. Now, okay, later. Okay, that's it, ready, and I'll just put that with the rest of the parts. Right, so that's it nice and neat, and I'll put that to the side for the next bit. Right, and the next bit is going to be these. Right, okay. I think it's been tainted so long. I think I'm going to let it be because it actually looks pretty good. Can you see that? It looks pretty good. It's like I'm using that word patina. So I'm going to do them all. I'm not going to let the camera run for each one of them because it's boring. So that one can go. In actual fact, if you look at that plate, it's sort of like a metal. It's not brass. It's just sort of a metal color. So they're not in bad condition, so I'm going to take that away and I'm going to switch the camera off and do them all and come back when they're all finished and show you them in a batch. Well, there you go. That's them done. They're not exciting. They're all working nicely and they're all clean. But I haven't got them up. That one's slightly bent, so I'm going to work on that a bit more. I think you can tell from my voice that I'm not excited about this because I like to get things finished. And this guitar is going to be finished to a degree, but it's still got more to do to it. And then I'm going to have to hand it back to the owner before it's all done. So I'm going to let them sit now and move on to the next job. Dry them up a bit. They'll all get a final polish before. They've all been sanded and oiled and worked on. So over there you go. And the next job, again, I'm stuck with these knobs because the owner doesn't want to change them. He's going to maybe consider doing something himself with these knobs, so there's not much I can do to them except for clean them up and give them a little bit of a, well, that's actually it. That's all I can do with them. So we're stuck with those knobs, right? Okay. And the final, no, they're not the final bit. Oh, right, let me just see. Is there something missing from them? No. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the little jar of, all right, okay. These little things are going to have to be cleaned up. And these are the little intonators that go in there, so that's going to be cleaned up. I'll do that on camera too. Is there one of these missing? I think there is, and I'm going to have to mock one up, fake one up. Those are little wooden intonators. Yeah, I remember them now, going inwards like that. So I got to mock one up, carve one out, or do something pretend with one. So I'll do that off camera and come back to you. Okay, well, I'll see what I can do, and I'll come back to you when I'll tell you what. And I'm going to use this too again. It works for a lot of jobs. It's actually quite surprising how many little jobs WD-40 will do. Very good for polishing a guitar too. If you don't go crazy, you go crazy, then it's your own fault. Don't go crazy with. Okay, that's fine. So let's get on to the body. There's, again, not a great deal that I'm going to be doing to the body, just cleaning it up, but I have a bit to do to the neck, and what I need to do to the neck is take away the sharp edges there, check it for leveling first. I'll just do that, and I'll speed up this bit. No, it was me, this bit there though. So it's going to have to be leveled. I'm going to tape it all, and I'm going to speed this up. Describe it a bit better. If that's your fret, right, there's a tang inside it that goes into the wood. That's exaggerated, of course, and it should be cut away from the edge of the fret so that you can push it in, and then you can file off. What they've done here, the tang seems to go right out to the edge of the fret, and I'm having to go right underneath to take the tang edge away because the wood is shrunk. That's what's making it a little bit more awkward. I think this is the fault of the person who lacquered the neck before. They didn't block off the frets, and so the lacquers got on the frets. Okay. Alright, that looks pretty good, and it's not awful. The edging now is not awful. Now what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to level them. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time leveling them and getting them perfect, because this guitar is not going to be a player. It's not going to be a player. So for me to level them is going to take off more of the fret that has been sitting there for 60 years. And I just don't see the need for it, because the more you take off the fret that's been sitting there for 60 years, if it was going to be a player, if it was going to be something that was played constantly, which it won't be, it will not be, then I might be tempted to do something with it. But it's going to be a very poor player at best, is what I'm going to say. It's more of a wall hanger, this, I believe. Although somebody might want to go up on stage and strum a few chords on it, but it'll never be a guitar to play, you know, Jimi Hendrix on. You just never know. But if it is, then I'll redo it again. Okay. Now, what do I do now? What am I going to do? The head I'm going to do next. Okay, I'll come back to you. Right, this is just a clean as well. I'm going to use 2005. I couldn't take that off because it was too well and firmly embedded. And now we're going to find out what it's made of. And I don't suspect it to be made of brass or anything. Just steel. And I'm using 2500 paper on it. Just a little simple oversized block of wood. Glue it on there, and then I'll file it down sideways, etc. Okay, I'm stopping now. Ciao. What I'm going to do now is put this back on. I fed it through, and all I have to do, I'm going to do some toothpicking. I'm going to fill in the tiny little holes with a little drop of tight bond glue, leave the stick there, and then I'm going to put on, I've cleaned this up, you just see, I've switched on the automatic focus again because I'm working on the top and I'm hoping it will focus there. But I've cleaned up this screw, so I'll put one in and then I'll go away and do them all, and when I'm ready to put, when I've cleaned up all the screws, I'll come back on and just rush through the thing and get it done. Oh, but cleaning those screws was tedious. So I've cocktail sticked all those, and I had to punch a little hole in them too. Now normally I just stick a matchstick in, but this time I use some tight bond because this wood is so dry that it just needs a little bit of a bond between it and the screw to hold it down. Now I'm going to set this in, but I think what I'll do is just before because I've learned from my mistakes in the past, I'm going to test to see that the electrics are still working. Just a rough test. Yep, that's working. Okay, so there's nothing broken in there, so I can switch that off and get on with it, and that's nice and flat. Put on my proper glasses, and I got a suspicion that this is going to be a bit tedious too because the screws are fighting me. Good, that was good. Right. Okay, I'm going to put this together too, this part. Now, lay it flat. Hopefully you're staying in focus this time. Let me just check it. Where's my sandpaper? It's close to it. Right, I'm going to put this on now. And this is just going to get tapped on again. And let me just make sure I have it. Yeah, I do. And I have a tiny touch of, although it's a waste of time to do it, I'm just going to do it anyway. A little tiny touch of tight bond in there. Just press it on. Oh, that screw's sitting up. So I'll just tap it down in. Now the head's come off on that screw, this one, and but it's sitting up, so I'm just going to put it down a bit. Right, okay, that's it on. And this is wood, and this is metal. There's no screws, there's no threads to this in metal, so the wood is actually holding these up, which I don't like the idea of, but that's the way it's designed. So what can you do? Makes very little difference, because those don't give you an awful lot of, well, it doesn't give you intonation, doesn't give you string suspension, it doesn't give you anything except for it holds the trim arm. So these things, I suppose it's just the way they did it. Maybe that's why they don't have metal screw-ins. Just because they're actually just holders for the trim arm. Yeah, right. Okay. Right. Next thing to do is to make the little bits and get the little bits done and dusted. Okay. I need a drink. I'm not going to get my drink just yet because this all has to come off. And the reason why it has to come off, I forgot to put those on the studs on the inside, so this has to come off again. So I'll not put you through this all again. Alright, well, that's it all back on again, and just before I finish it off I'll just put another little coating of crust. This is the, it's already had a coating. Remember, it's been cleaned and it was coated with this. It just would, it would stop it rusting any further in future years and just make it last a little longer. So that'll just vanish and turn crystal clear, but it reacts with the rust and forms a hard sort of metal. If you haven't used it, you should use it. It's very good. Alright, okay. And now I'm going to put the plaque on, but the back plaque, the screws are absolute rubbish, so I'm going to see what I can do with them. Well, I've decided that I'm going to cheat. Okay. These are so tiny, these are just fillers. Right. there's one. Now that one started, but they're not finished. So what I'm going to do now is cheat. I'm going to color them black, let them dry, and then I'll tighten them down. Because they're mucky color brass. Actually, that's going to tighten very quickly, so I'll tighten it. I'll tighten them down now. I wanted to make them black before I put them down, because you get any black on that plastic stuff and then it makes it's hard to get off, just like that. But I'll get that off, don't worry. But with the felt pen, had I done them when they were done, the felt pen, it wouldn't have been as easy to get them on it. Oh. Yeah, see, that's what I told you. Okay, that's it. So, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but that piece of wood's going to be glued to that. I have a theory on how I'm going to do it, but whether I'm going to be able to do it's another thing, because it's so fiddly. So I'll put a little bit of my favorite glue there, and come on, toothpick, come out, that's it. So you can see I use a lot of toothpicks, so I'm going to slather that in there. The best way would be to rip that off and put a bone one in, but that's not my, that's not what I can do, unfortunately. And that's going to go in that way, yes. It is, it's going to go in that way. And up there. So the theory is that that's going to go there. And the theory is that that is going to go, I don't think this is going to work, but we'll see. We'll see. That clamp is going to go see how fragile that is. Oh, that's holding it a bit. Oh, right. It's not as good as I'd like it to be, but it's holding it. No, that's it, right and tight. Let me just focus it on there. That oversized piece of wood, if I'll leave it for a couple of days and then I'll shape it down, hopefully without it falling off. So see you in a couple of days. Well, I built one of the intonators. Don't know if you could even tell the difference, but I built that and I put the strings on. I've cleaned it up. You've seen what I've done as it went along, and the strings are on. I rebuilt the nut. It's pretty hard to see as well, and I've cleaned up everything. I think I showed you as I went along, but I can't play you a demo because only one pickup is working, and that's the front one, and the back one is not connected. The knobs are still wrong, and I'm very unhappy about not being able to play a guitar when it's going to the customer. I'll let you hear a noise from it if you wish. Here we go. But I can't do anything more than that. I haven't even tuned it because the strings are going to have to come off to get the pickup off to replace it, because the owner is going to rewire it himself. All right, say goodbye to the Futurama.